how do we express this? Now, seriously, it's like, for as much as I know, there's still these moments of interacting with other people or even with myself that all of this sounds great, and the creation and the expansion and like talking about galactic centers, and what difference does any of that really make? And bringing it down to even part of it in an inability to talk to people sometimes that are asking, there is no meaning, there is no purpose, they're committing suicide, they're like struggling with even these star seeds coming who have been blown up in their blueprint from all the distortion. I can't answer the question, why are you here and why is it important that you stay? I honestly, even for myself, I lose the ability to really bring it down to a point of understanding. I get it, but I can't explain it. Like, how do we talk to, don't even know what my question is. I'm not even certain what it is.
Yeah. Well, what I feel I hear coming through in this is we're trying to make sense of it through a finite structure that is limited to the constructs of the veils of illusion and separation, right? That are the egoic construct, right? The mind. And so all that is coming through, and this will continue to take place, which is why, so many frequencies of compassion and so many people have shown up in a way of greater consciousness expansion, and all the things and tools and bells and whistles that we've participated in, right? Leading up to this now moment to share and to bring forth and to put out and to embody. And in the embodiment, we know it is the greatest invitation for all to access it, right? Because when something remains as an intellectually understood concept and in the space of the intellectual zone, if you will, the collective mind hive, the collective egoic construct, that's exactly where it remains. And that's exactly where it will remain, and it will remain in its access. The more and more an individuation of source chooses to come into the participation of the infinite streams of ancient wisdom and practices and things that are coming back, as Celeste shared, right? And that have been present here throughout all the time, but even more so coming back, whether it's different forms of breath, different forms of yoga, different forms of energy modalities, different forms of connecting with the elements, becoming one with the elements, et cetera, right? The more and more an individuation embodies, that's taking it from an intellectually understood concept and a place where it remains within the mental construct, the finite scope of the egoic mind, and one through their conscious directing and devotion and consistent practice of expressing their consciousness and their life force energy into the different modalities in which enables and allows them to embody it, we become the greatest invitation. It's through the embodiment that we ignite the unified field, and that we ignite the greater invitation for all to be able to do the same. But coming back to the question is, the question comes from the thinking mind. So it can only be accessed, the answers to it can really only be accessed through the database of the collective mind hive and that which one holds as an individuation within the thinking mind. So the invitation here is to drop into the eternal wisdom center, the 0 point, the access to all that is seen, all that is unseen, all that is the everything and the no thing. And the thinking mind has a very challenging time. The egoic mind, the thinking mind, has a very challenging time coming into a surrender to the concept, if you will, or perhaps seen through this channel and this vehicle in this now moment, the multiversal truth that truly this experience here as each unique individuation of source to have incarnated here has curated and crafted a unique blueprint of participation, each and every incarnate here is an eternal spark of pure creational potential, infinite creational potential, of pure source light, sound, and plasma, of eternal life force energy. And the main frame, what remains unchanged within the infinite seas of change, is the eternal curiosity and divine design of experiencing creation anew in every now moment, we'll say, through our experience here in linear time. So perpetual creation, to experience all layers and levels of what there is within all layers and levels of the creational folds of space and time. So here we then come to this earth experience, and it is by far one of the most magnificent in this now moment through its perception and its bandwidth of third density, one of the most epic systems and constructs of duality and polarity of the truest nature of our eternal life essence as source. And we each uniquely have curated a blueprint in this now incarnation to come in and experience. And it just so happens in this moment where we are collectively moving through a birth canal from the third density and the dissolve of that, right, to rebirth into, once again, more spacious, if you will, and greater and higher bandwidths of foundational resonance and access. We are wanting to go into it and get every single experience of duality and polarity that we possibly can prior to resurrecting and coming back into a greater field of unity, law of one. And so the thinking mind in its limited construct and its deeply woven identification as the victim-victimizer matrices as separate, the thinking mind cannot conceptualize and cannot bring one to a point of embodiment as one with all, because the thinking mind by its very construct is part of the separational matrices and is created through a dual wave construct, creational construct, that keeps all who participate in it within the illusion of separation, within the illusion of identifying as the duality and the polarity that is so richly present here. So one cannot conceptualize through the identity of the warring frequency and separation frequency and the duality of playing the roles of victim and victimizer. They cannot bring themselves to a place of higher and more expansive, eternal perspective, if you will, of the greater why, because of the very nature of how they're identifying while asking the question. It is only through our full trust and return to identifying as the eternal spark of creation, having chosen a unique blueprint woven and riddled in duality and polarity, for a brief experience of creational splendor here on earth. It is only from this vantage point of letting go of all identity as the victim or the victimizer, as any layer or level of identity within any and all constructs of duality and polarity, that one can see, receive, acknowledge, and celebrate the greater purpose, the greater pathways how one has chosen to curate their blueprint in any given incarnation.